Tesla is at an inflection point. Is it going down the drain, or is it about to moon, as it were? Is it going up or down? Who knows? Well, some people have some pretty good ideas, and if you're not just reading tea leaves, but actually checking which way the wind is blowing, you might have some pretty good ideas. If you don't, good news. I've got Matt Smith here, and we are going to talk a bit about what's coming up next, what to expect, and how it could change the landscape. I'm Brian. Welcome to Future Ozhog.
Thanks so much for having me on, Brian.
Yeah, it's great to have you again. Thank you for joining us. Matt Smith is with Rebellionaire. Matt has run, what would you call that? A large fund in the past. You've been a financial analyst for many years now. You have a good idea what's going on, and you have a strong focus on Tesla, which affords you the unique opportunity to see things that someone who covers 30, 40, 50 companies, an entire industry, sometimes two industries, is going to miss 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, and before that, I was managing wind farms and other power plants. So I think that the energy space is something that is increasingly interesting and relevant to the broader economy in general, with everything going on in AI right now. So that's a space I've been diving into a little bit more. So grateful for my time in that realm as well.
Well, there was I don't know about renewables. There was a big wind spill on the highway the other day, and it caught fire. That's not a thing. That's what happens with fossil fuels. So we've got some catalysts. Wind spill, so we've got some catalysts coming up that could have an impact on Tesla. I did see a comment on YouTube yesterday that I don't know if it was satire, but it said bots will not come out anytime soon because it will require hundreds of billions of dollars to make it happen. And I thought, you're getting overcharged, man. I know a guy. I said, I am of the opinion that it will cost less than 100 new car factories, but that's just me. What catalysts are coming up that, as someone who maybe doesn't have the stock, or who does and is thinking about selling or buying or changing their position, what are the upcoming catalysts and what are we thinking about them?
Yeah, so I think the most exciting and obvious near-term catalyst is robotaxi network launch in Austin any day now. So we don't know exactly when that will happen, but within a month. Tesla has continued for pretty much the last year, basically saying robotaxi launch in Austin in June, and we're still right on track for that. So that's the most obvious one, and you could almost argue that that's already priced in, and to some extent, I think this recent rally might give some justification for that. But at the same time, I think there are so many of these analysts out there that are covering Tesla that are still asking the basic question, like, well, it's not actually safe enough yet, and these people probably haven't even tried FSD on hardware for like the latest version 13. So maybe they tried a model 2 years ago or maybe a year ago, and they're like, yeah, Tesla. Or they look at some like the community tracker and they say, all right, well, they're nowhere near safe enough to have actual autonomous rides on the road. So if they actually go and like get an invite to try this out in Austin, and then write it up like a research note, I could actually see that providing a bit of a catalyst. If you get some of these, I would say, ill-informed skeptics out there suddenly change their mind for something that we've been able to drive for the last 9 months, they might suddenly show up and be like, oh, like Tesla actually has solved autonomy. So you might want to like raise your price target for that. So I think that's the most obvious catalyst, but I'm not necessarily convinced that the stock will move based on that. I'm a bit more excited for Optimus, but it's unclear the time frame that'll play out in.
I did have a comment the other day. Someone said, that Tesla stock is a Ponzi scheme, right? It's like, no, I don't know if you know, but words have definitions. You can't just come in and give them new ones. That's not what it is. Would you call GM stock a Ponzi scheme? Would you call a company that pays dividends a Ponzi scheme? No, because some companies have paid out more in dividends than their market cap over time. But that fine, whatever. That's ridiculous. There are, I would agree with you that robotaxi is not necessarily going to move the stock in June. 10 vehicles is just the next step. it's an important step, but to me, what matters long term is the fundamentals. This is the beginning of getting that flywheel spun up and in motion that will change things over the long term. And I think that it's just one more thing that's important. What are your thoughts on Tesla in terms of batteries? Is that an important thing moving forward? Do they have any special sauce?
Yeah, so I mean, I think batteries are becoming extremely important. I mean, I alluded to this a bit earlier, but the challenges the grid is facing are extreme. The AI arms race is very much heating up, and if you look at the challenge of trying to get power to a new, 100 megawatt or 1 gigawatt, data center, but that is not something that you can just spin up in 12 months to compete in the AI arms race. So batteries, I think, are increasingly becoming an important component of that particular industry, which is moving at breakneck speed because of all the advances in AI. But as the AI build out continues with all these data centers, the rest of the grid still has challenges. So there are still like normal customers and large industrial users of electricity that are struggling with this. There are utilities that are struggling to match supply with demand, especially as more intermittent renewables are coming online, and base load power demand is increasing at a rate higher than we've seen since World War II. So you've got these kind of crazy demands all coalescing, and I think it's becoming increasingly clear that the value proposition of batteries is even higher than I was expecting a couple of years ago. So this is I think a very big opportunity of growth. But in terms of the opportunity for Tesla, I view it more as kind of stabilizing their base operations, and maybe picking up some of the slack that the weak automotive sales that we're seeing recently. I think this really helps to significantly offset that. But it's not the sort of thing I think that is worth like $1,000 per share. I've seen some kind of crazy figures thrown around. Like all of Tesla's net worth, like the energy business alone could be $1 trillion market cap company. I think today that's not a reasonable position, but I do think it's going to significantly contribute to growth in gross margin in the next 12 to 24 months in particular.
What I did 2, 3 years ago is I made a video showing all the different use cases for megapacks. It was hospitals, it was factories, it was charging depots. And my list was pretty exhaustive, but data center was not on it. And certainly, I did not predict the growth of data centers that we would see, that we are now seeing. That is a very big deal. And so, yes, you've got all those traditional customers, but now you've got all these new customers as well. And with the explosion of demand in the grid, yeah, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to sell the batteries. And you know who the battery expert is? Of course, it would be Jordan Giesecke, who will be at our event in Michigan in June 20th and 21st. It's a big deal. Ignore this countdown. This was correct as of the time of recording this video. June 20th and 21st, TeslaMichigan.org. We're going to be out there. We'll have speakers, we'll have light shows, we'll have food, and we even have some VIP tickets to get you a influencer meet and greet where you'll get to meet influencers, but also us, because we are not influencers. We are analysts, for crying out loud. I don't know what you call yourself, but this ain't selling vacation lifestyle packages uh, as much as I wish it was.
Yeah, it was such a great event last year too. I mean, it's such an amazing opportunity to get to meet other, Tesla enthusiasts online. We kind of have our own bubble that like we all think and agree, like with a lot of the long-term value proposition of Tesla. But I imagine most people watching your videos, when they go out into their daily world and talk to people at the grocery store or in their community, they're probably not Tesla nerds like like we are. So it is actually great to kind of meet some like-minded people. I had some amazing conversations last year. So can't encourage you all enough to get some tickets and check out this event.
It is amazing when you and I go to a dinner party or a holiday event and we talk to our friends and family. They ask questions like, "Oh, are batteries good?" And you're like, "Well, what?" You go to these events, and I had a gentleman say, "Hear me out. When they did the boring tunnel from the loading lot over to underneath the Texas factory, did they keep going? secretly and go all the way to the parking garage? I was like, whoa, that's a great question. Mm, no, because they didn't have enough concrete rings and we would have seen all the dirt come out. He's like, no, that's true. That's the depth of questions, that of conversations that we have. Because I expected, the first event I went to, I expected people to ask 101 questions. And it's not. These people are dialed in just like you folks watching this. They are engaged, and the depth of questions, the quality of discussion, my goodness, it's ridiculous. These are all, you know, I can't tell you the percentage of my viewers who would be qualified to be researchers for this show. It's wonderful. It's a great community. With that said, let's talk about some more catalysts real quick. How long until Optimus moves the needle? We talked about how Megapacks took years of generating substantial revenue. And just yesterday, or a couple days ago, as of the time this comes out, Elon had said Optimus is not going to move the needle on GDP for at least 4 to 5 years. What's that mean for the stock?
Yeah, so by the at the point at which it's actually moving the needle on GDP, I think it's going to be blowing out the financials
It
of Tesla. So you need to kind of
is
like
just
look at
one
like,
company.
yeah, the impact to GDP. Like even if you're at like 0.1% of GDP, but for one company, like that's a massive needle mover. So the way I kind of think about this is probably 2028. You'll have a lot more meaningful contribution from Optimus. Um, Hard to tell exactly. Elon has famously talked about like the S curve, and so like any 12-month period, you can be like slightly over here and have like a 50% variance from like moving this 12-month window over by 6 months. Especially I think with the ramp that he's targeting for Optimus being like basically 10xing output like every year for 3 years at least. I mean, that's kind of wild increase in output. But like 2026, I forget the exact numbers he said off the top of my head, but 2026, it's not going to be a meaningful contributor. 2027, I think it starts to help a little bit, but then if they 10x again in 2028, I think at that point it's very significant needle mover in terms of the overall profitability of the company. So that would be my very rough take on where it goes from there. But then the thing that I think is so crazy is like you talk about 10xing 3 years in a row and like how insane that will be for the valuation. But then getting back to the original point of like if it's a meaningful contributor to GDP or moving the needle on GDP, what does that look like in 2030, 2031? Like, I mean, this is where it gets truly nutty, and you get into the Elon's comments about Tesla being more valuable than like the next three companies combined. Like, that's how you get there. It's not from Robotaxi Network. It's from Optimus delivering massive amounts of value to the economy.
Mm-hmm. And Megapack, as big as it is, may not be a serious line item. It may be as big as automotive, less robotaxi, but automotive is just one type of company. And what we're seeing today is there are companies that have diversified and those that haven't. BYD is a battery maker who also makes cars. They design their own chips. They do a lot of their own things in house. They're designing their own FSD system. And then you've got Porsche, whose sales are, let's put it mildly, down. Even in Germany, Porsche sales are down. And of course, I blame that on Elon's brand damage. It's so severe that it even impacts Porsche's internal combustion sales. That guy, I tell you, he's just terrible. But the reality is, Porsche doesn't have a second line of products. They are just a car company. Maybe they need more models. Maybe they should make a van. I think that's what people keep saying to Tesla whenever they have a criticism. So we've got Robotaxi, we've got and we've both made models on that. Even the most conservative ones look pretty insane. We've got Bot, and I'm sure we both published models on that even the most conservative modeling looks insane. Megapack is fine. The last thing to talk about is the more affordable models. As of recording this on the 27th of May, we still don't know exactly what those are going to be, and we expect to find out in the next couple of days, perhaps before this comes out. Will the more affordable model expand the market and get the factories closer to running at full capacity?
Yeah, this seems to be a bit of a mystery, and I am kind of surprised that we don't know more than we
Anything.
know so far. Like, whatever they're doing to keep this under wraps, it's been very successful. I mean, they stated clearly in the shareholder letter that the goal is to more fully utilize existing capacity. So obviously they're trying to run on the existing lines. So the form factor can't be too drastically different, I wouldn't think. But I think the question on everyone's mind is like, is this like actually a new model, or is it like the Mexico Model Y, for
Decontented.
example, where it's
Hmm.
like a decontented, cheaper version? I think I'm in the former camp where it's actually a slightly different version. Like maybe it's like a hatchback, or some other different form factor that would at least somewhat increase the TAM. Because if it's just like some different components, to me, like that isn't really even a new trim level of the existing products, doesn't really fit with what they've told us. So I think I'm much more in the former camp, where there will be some new variant. Like, I don't expect it to be drastically different in form factor than what we've seen already. But I would be surprised and honestly disappointed if it's just like cheaper version of the existing products.
I'm with you 100% on both of those. I think a slightly different model, a hatchback or a coupe or something, would expand the market. But I think a decontented, slightly cheaper 3 or Y would sell. I mean, there are people who would absolutely buy that. Perhaps even me. I don't know. I'd have to see it first. But they're both of those are potentially good things, especially uh, regardless of what it is, we expect it to be more affordable. And there is a lack of consumer confidence right now. Um, it's not because of me. I go to the store and tell people to be confident every day. I tell them they look great, even in that hat, sir, and they don't take it well. I don't. I think it's a problem with the economy. I blame the macro for my compliments not landing. So, guys, we're going to be in Michigan on June 20th and 21st in Muskegon. Join us, won't you? TeslaMichigan.org for tickets. It's going to be a whole lot of fun, and you'll get to meet everybody. Two of my boys will be there. You've seen them in videos, perhaps. They will be there helping out. So, guys, in the comments, what do we miss? What do we misunderstand? Subscribe if you haven't. I beg of you. It is absolutely critical to the survival of my entire family. Maybe that's overstating it a bit, but everybody else, like, subscribe, do what you do. Stay tuned, stay juicy, and I cannot wait to hear from you, clever robots on the flippity flop.